record. And
Yeah.
can you see me? Because right now, for some reason, oh, I had stop video. There we go. So it's been a little while since we last talked, man. There's a lot going on here. I mean, I'm curious. I want to be filled in on what's going on with you and this whole situation because this went from something like really simple, um, with a simple pull over, stop, and it like totally turned into all this crazy stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff to the point where I've been starting to do a lot of research into a lot of the stuff that you've been talking about, where I normally probably might not have been paying too much attention to it. You know what I mean? Because there's so many different avenues where we can see that the corruption is taking place, right? It's like it's everywhere. We've talked about this. It's like in government, it's in the medical system, it's in the education system, the monetary system, our economic system, the way we're going right now. Everything has just completely exposed its evil face, and it's just like it's almost like metaphorically the devil's just walking around the roadways just high-fiving everybody, and everyone's just high-fiving back. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I have this like Adidas hat, and I just got it because I was running a race, and I was like, okay, cool, Adidas hat. Come to find out, have you heard about this Bell what is it, that company? Bell and Siaga, Balenciaga. You hear about this? It means ball
Oh.
is king, right? It's this major
Oh.
fashion designer who bought out Adidas who knows how long ago. And they're so like explicitly satanic. It's unbelievable from this. It's almost like it's blatant what they're doing. And
Well, you know
here,
what Adidas has been around for a long time. You know
yeah.
what Adidas stands for, right? People say
Well,
all day I dream about
I
sex.
remember learning about that when I was in like elementary school. Yes,
Yeah.
that just that acronym, but it's probably no coincidence that this, Balenciaga major fashion design company, Kim Kardashian and all these different people like really highly promote this company, and they're purely satanic. Anybody look them up, Balenciaga. Probably most people that are watching this know what this is and they've already heard about it. But anyways, this kind of veering off the point, but really,
Honestly, it brings up another point. I've been listening. I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, and I was looking at their logo. I'm not like looking at the logo. If you look at the Screen Actors Guild SAG-AFTRA logo, I realized that the ball arms are part of the logo, as above, so below. There's a
yeah.
snake. There's a snake there as one of the arms, and then if you turn it sideways, it's the Eye of Horus. So I was like, I just stared at the logo until all of a sudden these things jumped out at me, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's just right there, and all these logos have different things. I look at the Michelob Ultra sign that's in the restaurant that I manage, and there's a red thing that sticks up from the middle, and then a flat plane, and there's just these. It's almost like a flat Earth map, and then there's the MK, Ultra. So
Right, yeah.
uh, it's kind of like mind control-ish,
Yeah,
if you want to start getting into symbols and stuff. But
absolutely.
I sent you an email. I think you got it with the documentation that I put you on there as.
Mhm.
I sent it to a couple of my family members. I sent it to two attorneys who have decided to help me pro bono. Neither of them are in Florida though, so they can't come to Florida and represent me. So I'm in the process of. I'm sure you looked at those documents. I don't know if you had time, but they're
Yeah.
all about changing the style, status, and condition of my name from all capital letters to uppercase, lowercase, and then also removing myself from the Uniform Minors with Disabilities Act, because once you are born and your parents turn you over to the state, your name anyway, and they make a bond out of it. The Vital Statistics Office makes a bond out of your name called a birth certificate. then then you, the physical person, is considered dead and lost at sea. And so you become this object, a dead object below majority age with disability that is being bailed around by a bail bondsman, by the bailiff. Bailers and bailiffs and bailing is where you take a thing and you move it from one place to another. So a bailiff or a bail bondsman is responsible for moving the dead object from one place to another when it needs to be held at the warehousing center or the jail under guardianship as a ward of the state. That's why guards are called guards. It's called part of the guardianship of the ward of the state. And so the process I'm going through right now is to remove myself as a ward of the state under the Uniform Disabilities Minors with Disabilities Act. So I sent you that paperwork for, safekeeping as part of this kind of documenting. I listed you as the documentarian, for this whole thing that we're talking about, this process I'm going through. And so I was in the process of now I'm in the process of speaking to all of the local attorneys and the legal counsel that are helping me, the good side legal counsel. There, these two attorneys have decided to help me because they know the racket and they are doing it anonymously, and they have a company that they've created to help people go through this process. And so what has happened now is that gave me a attorney client agreement letter to send to different attorneys saying, hey, will you represent me as long as you don't subjugate my political, religious, and constitutional rights and beliefs. And right now, none of them will sign it. And I also sent it to the public defender, and I also told him that I could represent myself. So the judge, David Silverman, had appointed a public defender to my case without my approval and against my will, and made me pay a $50 fee to do it. So I sent that client attorney agreement over to the public defender, and he now told me on Friday, or it might have even been Thursday, that he was going to motion to the judge for withdrawal from my case, being that he sees me as non-indigent, meaning I can pay for my own attorney. And now I can't get any attorneys to sign my client attorney agreement. So I'm probably supposed to go to court. Right now, I'm supposed to go to court on this coming Tuesday, the 13th, up in Vieira at the Harry T. Moore Justice Center, parentheses, courthouse. And the public defender who's motioning to withdraw from my case, has asked it to be rescheduled to the 15th, Thursday. And I was like, look, I work 3 jobs. I teach school in the daytime. I manage a restaurant at night. I umpire baseball on the weekends. And I don't think that you can just start screwing around with my schedule this way. I need a 90-day continuance, which will give me time to file this paperwork that I sent you onto the clerk of the courts. I need to dock it with the clerk tomorrow. I'm going in the afternoon after school. Between school and the restaurant, I'm going to drive over to the clerk of the courts, dock my name change or style, status, and condition of my name change. And then that will go onto the record. And I believe once that takes hold, that they're not going to be able to press anything against me because I'll no longer be a ward of the state. I'll no longer be the all capitalized name on their bond. And then this should be dismissed. And then there's another part to this where I should be able to cash out my birth bond, which is worth over $150 million. And my lawyers that are helping me, who are just legal counsel, they can't represent me in court, they get a percentage of when I cash out. So that is the course that we're on right now.
Wow, that's really interesting. So, how do you feel this change of date is going to come? Because I mean, you have that date as the 13th right now. I mean,
Well, the public defender is withdrawing from the case, so I'm going to go stand there and I'm supposed to be there. So far, it hasn't changed in the court case. If you go to Brevard Clerk of the Court's case search and you type in my name, Ronald Farnham. You can choose Ronald Farnham, and then my birth date 2/17/69. Anybody can do this. You can see all of the paperwork in my case, the date, the location. So I'm supposed to be at the Vieira Courthouse at 8 a.m. on Tuesday for a docket calling, and then I think 9 a.m. to hear my call, whatever it is, and then from there, at that moment, the public defender will have withdrawn, and I'm going to ask the judge for a continuance, meaning more time, a 90-day continuance, and I'm going to let him know that, you know, I am entitled to effective legal counsel. I am in the process. I do have the money to hire legal counsel, and I'm in the process of doing so. It's just hard right now for me to find one to represent me. So we'll see how it's going. I'm not going to go into details how they won't sign my client attorney agreement, but I'll just say I need that time to find the legal counsel, and then we'll see what happens there. I'm hoping that they just dismiss the entire case, because when I file that paperwork, I've got the paperwork right here in front of me. That's what I'm motioning to. When I file that paperwork on the record tomorrow, I'm also going to email copies of it to Florida State Attorney Phil Archer, who actually stood next to Sheriff Wayne Ivey up here in Brevard County the other day. And there was an article written about how Wayne Ivey and the state attorney are going to start, you know, jailing either parents or parents and children who are misbehaving at school. And I saw the email address of the newspaper reporter who wrote that article, Timothy at Fox News or something. And I emailed him directly and said, hey, you know why they can do this, right? Because when we're born, they create a birth bond out of us, put us under the Uniform Disabilities with Minors with Disabilities Act, consider us dead objects lost at sea, and treat us like collateral for a birth bond, where if we rebut all those presumptions, then they're not supposed to be able to touch us. And I just kind of left it simply at that. That's why they're able to treat us like this, is because even you, Logan, you know, everybody, you're not the, I mean, even me right now, my status technically, until I file this rebuttal paperwork, is that I'm dead, lost at sea, a ward of the state under their guardianship, a dead object to be handled by bailers and bailiffs and bail bondsman who's in control of my bond and bails it, me as collateral for the bond. So there's all these different words that are be using that, and that we've been hearing over the years on TV shows and movies, that nobody really knows what these words mean or is paying attention to what's going on with them. You know, it's wildly out of control, and it's a perfected racket that's going on. And in fact, I have at this club, the Fraternal Order of the Eagles 4249 in Palm Bay, I'm the restaurant manager. I manage the kitchen, inventory, everything, Monday through Friday. Well, the president of this club, or former president, is a retired police officer. And I had emailed and texted to everybody that I knew to just write a letter on my behalf to David Silverman. And when this former president saw the video that we did last time, he got mad because he said I called him a goon and an idiot. And I said, I never specifically called you a goon or an idiot. And he said, well, you're talking about my former profession and you refer to all of us as goons and idiots. I said, look, none of that is personal towards you or anything like that. We were just simply talking about how these goons, idiots, cops really are behaving, working a perfected racket, and they know what's going on. And several times when I've said things to them, they go, I don't know what you mean. And then I even said something to an attorney in jail while they were holding me in jail. And I said, look, I don't consent to being surety for these proceedings. And he goes, I don't know what you mean. And then I went and got my fingerprints done for the state of Florida so I could become a teacher at the school, Lifeline Academy, where I'm teaching. And the person who, and I'll send you a picture of this, the cop who was doing my fingerprints wrote these weird squiggly lines under a 5 and an S and another letter. And I was looking at it. I was like, huh. She was staring at me and she's like, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, there's these squiggly lines here. I've never seen this before. I knew that it meant something. And I'll send you the picture. And she goes, I did that. And I was like, well, what do these lines mean here? And she goes, I don't know what you mean. I was like, oh, okay, it's the same thing. When you try and present this logical information to them about this racket that they're operating, their defense is to claim ignorance and also pretend, I guess, we're speaking another language, and they just go, I don't know what you mean. It's like plausible deniability, and they also say it with a very negative attitude. So I just let it go. I just needed to get my fingerprints done so I could get this teaching job, because, and I'll tell you, I love teaching. So anyway, the former president of this club saw that video, and well, not more than a couple of weeks later or a couple of weeks ago, he got into a drunken rage in this club with another guy who is a convicted felon and out of jail now. And they beat up for no reason our karaoke guy that night. And now those, this guy who complained about us calling him a goon and an idiot apparently is very possibly what we called him or his profession. So, and now he's no longer president. He's been expelled from the club. So very interesting turn of events and series of events. And I've been paying careful attention to the words that these professionals or so-called professionals are saying at me and around me and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of people, everyone has had to deal with being pulled over, has gotten a ticket, has gotten sort of, somewhat, I guess we could say harassed to some degree, by the authorities. I know my personal experience is that there's never been a policy enforcer that's ever helped me. They've always pulled me over, given me crappy tickets for like a taillight being out. My one time I get pulled over for my it was sprinkling out, my windshield wipers weren't on, and I get pulled over for my windshield wipers not being on in the rain. All these things. I even got pulled over one time. I was just driving. I was a teenager. Got pulled over, and the cop forced me out of my car, handcuffed me, threw me against the side of the vehicle, and didn't tell me what was going on. To after about 30 minutes, told me, "You fit the profile of somebody. Sorry for the inconvenience." Unhandcuffed me and let me go. I mean, I have so many stories about this. That it's crazy. More when I was younger than now. Now, anyways, the reason why I'm saying this is that I think a lot of people have had most of these experiences where they just feel completely violated. They feel like that there's not any justice going on here. And what you really actually have, for a large part, is people that are wearing all kinds of armor and ammunition, gunpowder, gunpowder, that is just so intimidating that whenever you do get pulled over, like, why the heck should anybody have their heart rate go to 160 beats per minute when they have got blue lights behind them, when they have absolutely nothing to worry about? There's a reason behind that. And what I'm saying here, my point overall is intuitively, everybody knows there's something extremely wrong here. I shouldn't be feeling like this. And what you're talking about here is getting into the lingo, getting into the actual nitty-gritty of why intuitively, when we get to our real core of ourself, our real being, that this is just not right. It's not the way things should be proceeding in our everyday life. And this is, I think, what really we're trying to bring to light, what you're trying to bring to light through this complicated process, with all this freaking, notarizations and all this signing of documents and all this rigmarole, is basically just proving that the living soul is the living soul. And there's nothing that can put a marker on that, even though that is what's trying to be done right now. And they're making you work for it. And all these people that are doing the freaking devil's bidding have no idea what they're really into it for. And that's why you said they don't know. And I'm telling them that, talking about sureties and birth bonds and all this stuff, people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. They're just like, no, I think, because they don't, because they're doing the freaking devil's bidding. They're just saying, I'm getting orders, and I know that this is what I need for this to happen, so I'm going to do it. But they don't ask any
And then if
questions.
I say something, their response is always, I don't know what you mean. And I think that's intentional, though. I think they're trained on to say that. I really do.
Yeah, they could be. They're probably trained to say that, but they're also trained their brain to not question that either, because they're not questioning that. They're not going, well, why is this? They don't care because guess what? They're getting paid money to say that, and that's what they do. It's like it's the same thing with NASA. I mean, look at the work, look at the stuff you've done to like expose the fact that there's no actual pictures of Earth from outer space, right? You've called NASA, you've talked to these people personally, and they've even come out and said, "Hey, man, like literally, like I'm the head of the Jet Propulsion Department, and I don't have any pictures. We don't have any pictures of
Or
the Earth
video. Yeah.
spinning. And so sorry, if I did, we'd give it to you, but we don't. And so it's so compartmentalized. Look at Hank, right? That plays with my dad and you on your baseball team. Hank, he works for NASA. He's designing rockets. He's an engineer. He's a big deal. He doesn't even know what the Van Allen radiation belt is. He doesn't know what that is. So my dad is like, Hank, come on, man. You're building rockets. You're building the Artemis rocket that's going into space, right? You're a part of this project. You're an engineer. You're getting paid a lot of money to do this, but you don't know what the Van Allen radiation belt is. You don't know what that is, because Hank's
And
like, yeah.
that's what allegedly is keeping us from going back to the moon for some reason.
Well, I mean, what I mean is, here's a guy from NASA that doesn't even know what that is. He's part of NASA. It's so compartmentalized, and this is the whole story of everything that's going on in the world right now. Whether you're dealing with the judicial system, or the police, or the medical system, or the engineering, the NASA, the space program, whatever it is, it's
The
so
intelligence community, that's compartmentalized.
intelligence community is a great one because that's probably the biggest thing right now. It's the intelligence community, CIA, FBI, right? These people are the ones really playing all the freaking Tavistock mind games, MK Ultra Project Paperclip shit going on right now. Is that it's so compartmentalized? That's how they win the game. Is they control all the compartments. So you get geniuses working for NASA that aren't questioning what their rockets are actually doing and where they're going because they're just like, no, it's kind of like, and like Bob Lazar, for instance, you've probably heard of him, UFO guy. I don't know.
Area 51.
Area 51, right? Okay, I'm just using him as an example. I don't know how true his story is or anything, but it's compelling because he's basically just like, I took apart only certain parts of the rocket that dealt with the gravity, anti-gravity machinery, and that's it. I didn't wasn't exposed to anything else, so I can't tell you. And so it's that to me is a great example of like that's how they do it. That's how the government will do it. They'll take all these people and they'll take these little sections and pieces so that you, for instance, if you work in the intelligence community, you don't have the information to give or to exploit, right?
Or
Even if,
the access.
or yeah, or the access. So it's like that access is really like in order for you to have all the information, you had to sign your life away, like non-disclosure agreements out the freaking yin yang, and that's it, man. You know what I mean?
Plus, it's called it's in the intelligence community. I held a top secret clearance for 15 years. I was a signals intelligence analyst, counterterrorism analyst. I was a data manager at Headquarters Special Operations Command, managing an intelligence database. And I had to get read on to SAP programs, special access programs, where they were all had code names, and whatever code names I was read on to, those were the programs that I had access to which I had access. If I tried to look at a program outside of my read-ons or outside of my scope of intelligence, TSSCI, SAP, top secret special compartmented information special access programs, I couldn't get to those folders, documents, files, because I'm not read on to them. So it's that compartmentalized where you're only working on certain projects that you have the clearance or you're read on to, and then dealing with based on your position in the contract or your position in that office or whatever you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I think, and I'm kind of trying to speak in the mind of people who may be listening to this that kind of think the way we do, is that sometimes it's hard to believe that everything is so scripted, that everything's so propped that it's hard to imagine that it wouldn't just all fall apart because how can things be so scripted and propped, but yet still like really actually function through society? Like we look at Area 51, we look at the alien bullshit, we look at space programs, we look at pandemics, we look at the medical establishment, everything you can possibly imagine. it seems so scripted and prompted. But then I started really realizing today, I was driving around today and I was looking at stop signs. I was looking at traffic signals. I was looking at all, like I started paying attention to all this stuff driving around today, and I realized every single bit of it is a prop. It's there to prop. It's there as a play. And we're actually in like, I didn't even like today, I really realized like when we talked about living in the fiction in the past, I didn't
Yeah.
realize how much we are truly living in the fiction. We are living in a fantasy world where we're all propping each other up on not science and not facts, but ideas, ideologies, and beliefs that are built off of everything. The medical establishment's a religious cult. The religious establishment, whether it's Catholicism or Christianity or Hinduism, it's all a propped up, a scripted play. It's an idea, and there's no way to prove any of that's actually true. It's almost like we're living in a world that it's almost like, Ron, if I tell you about who I am and my ideas, you're going to be liable to believe that that's who Logan Henderson is, this guy and his ideas and his beliefs. But really, there is no science to back up anything that I'm saying. None, zero. Just what I'm explaining to you. It's like our realities are based on ideologies and not science and no fact. And this is what, and my quick roundabout here to try to solidify this is that that is how things are so propped up, is that we believe so much in the script and we believe so much in the props that when you are somebody who is a leader and you are the one scripting and prompting the world stage, you realize how easy it is because everyone is living in the fantasy, and all you have to throw is some props into the mix and they believe that it's a reality. It's like a movie that you watch, stage props. I watch a movie, a good movie, I'm going, fuck, that seemed like that shit was real. We're at a great movie. But it's like it was scripted and propped, just like our whole world is. And that's why we're living in a lie. We're living in an inauthentic reality where we're missing the heart and the soul of this genuine, like, being, and really an actual thirst for what real knowledge and science actually is, which is give me the nuts and bolts of why this is the way that it is. It's like I've been hearing so much stuff about flat Earth lately that I'm more compelled to believe that the Earth is freaking flat than it is round, because the globers have no real actually good explanation. But you talk to flat earthers and they give you a million great reasons, and then you're going, well, why don't more people know about this? Because it's true. It's more logical for the Earth to be flat and the sky to be spinning around us than it is that we're spinning on a freaking ball at Mach freaking 800 through freaking space. Doesn't make any sense, man. But why don't people question this? Because we believe in an idea. We just believe in ideas. The sun's 93 million miles away. Like, really? That's far. I mean, like, uh, could we even see that if it was that far? I don't know. I'm saying it's like, why do we just believe shit that people tell us? But we do. And that's our problem. We're ignorant, man. We're ignorant freaking species.
And then if you question it, the herd mentality attacks you and asks you, are you off your medication? Are you always acting like this? How can the
Right.
mass media has controlled the dialogue and the rhetoric on what we believe 100% and how we behave. It's just if you cast all of your beliefs out the window and you just look outside and look around, what makes sense? And I've I've tending to believe that we're in some type of an enclosed terrarium with which is operating on like an electromagnetic toroid field, and that there's more to the Arctic, the North Pole, than we understand. That Admiral Byrd went there, he met with beings, and that there's a black sun emitting the sun and moon out as two separate lights that are the same size that are going around in a kind of an area that controls the weather. And then we got the stars rotating overhead. And I was raised Catholic, and I keep bringing it back to the Bible now. And I'm not even really that religious, but I do see that, okay, they put down some truths here in Genesis saying that here's what happened first: light was created. and then there in the depths of waters, and then the waters were separated, and a firmament was put above and below, and then the sun and moon and stars were put in the sky to, and then the waters were separated from the land, so we had the seas and the waters, and the sun and moon inside the firmament with the stars keep track of time, celest, basically time and weather patterns, and it's all right in here. It's almost like whoever wrote the Bible was just a guy who built a terrarium and put us in there and created it, and light, time is relative to those lights in the sky. Without those, there is no time. We don't even, and then we're told to eat 3 times a day. And then we're told that if we don't do certain things, we're going to burn in hell because this God is watching us and stuff. So I decided to just give up on all the kind of stuff I was trained on. And I just say, you know what, if you want to believe something, believe the exact opposite of what the establishment is telling you or is the way things are. That's kind of how I do it now. I try and eat as little as possible. I don't believe there are aliens. I think these ships and these crafts have been here for probably thousands of years, and they're coming from the Arctic, the Antarctic, and the oceans, and we just don't know about them. And then Area 51 is where they probably got some of that technology and they're reverse engineering. But us humans, we've just evolved as a bunch of beasts. And from what Admiral Byrd's diary said, that they're messing with nuclear technology. But yet, do nuclear bombs really exist? Can we like you got CERN, the European Center for Nuclear Research, allegedly smashing protons together at light speed in order to find the Higgs boson particle and bust through a dimension. If they're doing that at light speed, but yet Neil, what is it? Niels Bohr or whoever created the atomic bomb says that they can split the atom. I just don't think that. I think that the nuclear explosions over Nagasaki were probably just tons of TNT to make us fear um, atomic threats as part of the political rhetoric. And maybe the Chernobyl meltdown was actually maybe a side effect from a CERN like hadron collider that caused some type of a radiation effect. And if you watch the show Stranger Things, you'll see that that's kind of what they're doing in that show, exposing what happens when you open up these doorways into the alternate dimension, or they call it the upside down world, where you're basically causing death and radiation to pour out into our dimension. I mean, a lot of that is speculation, but after I've thought about things for a while and put out the questions, then the answers just kind of strike me at times. Like there probably is no nuclear bomb capability. Chernobyl probably was a CERN meltdown where they smashed, protons together, might have opened up a black hole underground, and now it's just seeping out radiation. I mean, I don't know. It's just the world we live in, that I grew up in, is a total backward lie than what I was told about everything. At least that's how I feel now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like that really reality is based on what we believe. And I think that I always come back down to the self-empowerment and standing in your authority for who you are as a person. And if you are a really true critical thinker, what happens is that when you question everything, you come to this really deep understanding that you don't know shit. You never really actually understand or really know anything, but what you do is have a real deep intuitive feeling for the world around you and the things that are going on without having to watch any news or anything like that to actually know what's going on, a deeper connection with the reality of that. But more importantly, as an individual, you start to feel more empowered and more grounded into your reality, more purposeful, more radiant, more deeply accepting of who you are, where there's none of this background voice saying you're not good enough, you're never going to be good enough, you need to make more money, you need to be more successful, you need blah, 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 because these are the background noises that are running in almost everybody's head, at least in our world, in America. You know, I don't know what it's like in India or Europe or these other places, but I will say in America, there's a very strong background frequency that's telling people you're just not good enough. You're not, you don't have what it takes, because we're so used to seeing successful people all around us in these different venues or, you know, avenues of success that is just bullshit. Really, reality is what we create it to be. You know what I mean? It's like that is the bottom line. So the exterior world, this is where we're like warriors and we have to venture out as individuals really safely. We have to have the right tools. They have to be sharpened the right way. And this is what you're talking about when you're diving into the legal atmosphere, because you're going into this dark forest, man. It's like the Princess Bride. You're going into the freaking that forest, freaking with, you know, big rats and freaking shit going all over the place, because you have to get to the other side of that forest. That's what you have to do right now. This is your truth. And as you come out the other side of this peril, you're going to have some amazing, and you already have amazing knowledge about how other people can walk through this forest, how they can better equip and arm themselves through all this, because there is this other reality and scope that's saying, we don't want you to understand the truth. We don't want you waking up out of the fiction. We want you to stay in the fiction and stay submissive, stay compliant, and stay obedient through this process as we shift the world into what we want it. And that's like the globalist mentality. These people that have been charged of running the ant farm for fucking thousands of years. And people like us are coming through, and there's millions of us, man, millions. Some people are really getting a lot of traction with their message too, which I'm so grateful for. But it's that, you know, we have to come through this forest with our individual messages of, no, don't sit there and take that. You're a critical thinker. You're a sovereign spirit, a living soul who is infinite and boundless in this world. That's not just a made up thing. It's not something I just made up, little me. No, this is a known, and this is what the philosophers and spiritual people throughout time have been teaching us. We are sovereign living souls. Authority is a fucking idea. It's not even nothing. It's just an idea that has been placed upon us to slave us, to be submissive. And that's not who we are. We're free. That's why when we get pulled over and we see authority, we're just like, this doesn't feel right. I feel weird. I don't feel, this feels horrible and violating to me, because it is. You're being violated upon. Big,
Raped.
yes.
You know what you
Yeah.
the linchpin on what you said, and this is really what it's all about, is what you believe. Reality is what you believe. And I think that's what, if you look at the Bible, and not harping on religion or anything like that, but I think Jesus, the character, was an icon for auto hypnosis and self hypnosis, because it talks about faith and belief. And a lot of people say, well, you got to have faith, you got to believe. Okay, well, you please explain to me, because I know the answer. What is faith? Define faith, define belief. All right, let's define it from a scientific auto hypnosis neurolinguistic programming standpoint. Neurolinguistic programming is when you can use words to implant commands into someone's subconscious mind. And the mind, I don't know if we've gone over this before, but the mind, the brain houses the conscious and the subconscious. And it's even out in the ether. You know, we have just kind of fine-tuned our physical being down from really an energy force that we're transcribing as this solid being, but I'm not this solid being. I just think I am. We just think that we're these solid beings. We take in light upside down into our eyes. It gets flipped over in our head, and we're seeing everything in our mind. No, we're not seeing everything out there. Everything that we're seeing is happening in our mind.
You're going. So yeah, let's pick up where you left off. That's a really good point you're making. Really good point.
So you got the mind, you got the conscious mind that is wrapped around the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is your ball of beliefs, and everything that you believe in this ball of beliefs reflects out into your reality. That white is white, that you're 5'10" or 11, that you can only throw a baseball 50 miles an hour, that you can only jump so high, that gravity works. All these beliefs that we have been programmed, because you listen to authority, and the command bypasses the conscious reasoning barrier that's wrapped around the subconscious and goes in and plants itself into the subconscious, and there it becomes a belief, a true belief. And Jesus could lay his hand. Jesus could say, okay, I'm going to put my hands on you, and when I do, you're going to be able to see, because I have that power. You believe I have that power. I have that power. It's hypnosis. That's what a hypnotist does. It says, okay, relax. I'm going to count backwards from 10 to 1. When I get to 1, you're going to be in a relaxed state. And then I'm going to make it so that you can see through your sister. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now when your sister stands in front of you, you can see through her, and I'm going to snap my fingers now, and you're going to wake up, and you're not going to be able to see your sister. You'll be able to see right through her. Bingo. All right. And then the hypnotist will hold a watch on the other side of the sister, and the person sitting on the other side of the chair, the sister, can see right through his sister and read the time on the watch. Because once a real command takes hold into the subconscious mind, it manifests out into reality. If you look at the back of the dollar bill and you see the pineal gland eye on top of the pyramid, it is our that's our belief, that is faith, that is our inner sight in here that is building this allegedly physical reality all around us. It's apparently physical, but that's what that is saying right there, that the physical is built right underneath the power of the pineal gland of the subconscious mind, and that you have to bypass the conscious reasoning mind to get that command in there. So yeah, when you said your reality is based on your beliefs, it's absolutely true, and our reality has been directly programmed into us. I don't even really know what real reality really is, because I would have to deprogram my entire mind. We would have to deprogram ourselves. We can recreate our reality. Like when I took your audience through the hypnosis session, there was a scientific prayer. I was programming everybody to put a belief in their mind that together as a mastermind, we could manifest the desired reality that I want to happen in this case, that needs to happen. And that's one of the treacherous, dangerous things about what I'm doing, is that this can for real change the entire system in the United States. I have these papers in front of you, and it says this one paper right here, this document. In this case, on complainant of the complaint seeks an order for the bill for change of name and removal of legal disabilities of minority and or minor and associated minor accounts, and restoration of all rights, and hearing no objections, and the bill having been entered, and consideration having been tendered and entered herein. That's saying that I'm no longer under the authority of these maniacs who are treating us like we're dead and lost at sea. And then everyone can cash out their bond for whatever amount, $150 million, $200 million, whatever, because everyone's living in basic poverty, having to work their fingers to the bone. Both parents are working. We can't even take care of our kids, can barely meet all of our bills. Inflation's going up. Gas prices are going up. Food prices are going up. We're having more things to list on our list of bills: electric, water, phone, internet, cell phone, cable. Yeah, I mean, insurance, house insurance, mortgage, you name it. How in the heck are we supposed to, and it's just indentured servitude to the Federal Reserve and this illicit bonds that they've been making from our names, that they're forcing and coercing out of our parents when we're born. What if no parents gives their name over to the state anymore? Then you're without a birth bond. And I would rather have the birth bond that I can cash out on. So let them make the birth bond, and then we have the ways to do it. And after this is all settled, whatever I go through, you guys have the paperwork in safe handling. I've given it to people. It's there. Yeah, I gave you the contact information for these attorneys that I'm working with pro bono, so that no matter what happens to me, this is not over. They can put me in jail and kill me there if they do, but it's not over there. It's not going to end there. I'm spreading this information to enough people to where they're not going to be able to track it all down. They're not going to be able to stop it, and now there's going to be evidence showing that they're trying to cover it up. Now, my mindset is though that justice is going to be served, and I'm not going to have to go to jail. They're not, that they're going to have to dismiss this. So we are staying steps ahead of them, and that's why we did this paperwork, and that's why the public defender wound up having to withdraw from the case, because I put him in that position to do so. So we're pressing the right buttons and making sure that we are steps ahead on this whole thing.
That's a good point. And I should have asked you that a little bit earlier. So that was a pretty big deal because what happened was on a chess move from the Brevard County, court system. They appointed you a public defender. Now it's a pretty big position that they're doing that, because if you comply to that and say, okay, I'll do that, then that gives them this upper hand. But you came back and said, and I got that paperwork that you sent me. If you could real briefly describe what you did there, because I didn't realize that they backed down. So that was an important thing that you did. You basically gave them the opportunity to work with you, but also said, hey, listen, this is my position. So if you can handle it, if you can handle the heat, stay in the kitchen. But if you can't, then scoot it. And he scooted it.
Yeah, I said, I need effective counsel. If you're going to effectively counsel me, first of all, you were appointed to me against my will, without my consent, calling me, they basically were trying to say that I'm incompetent, and they were going to try and have a competency hearing. And then I sent along my client attorney contract saying that, fine, let me deal with you. I don't want you, but I'll deal with you first, because I can get my own attorney, but you need to sign this client attorney agreement then. And so after that, he emailed me back and said that he was withdrawing as public defender on my case, saying that, fine, I'm not indigent. And so that removes any outside force right now, the public defender being able to work for the court. And now I'm sending that same client attorney agreement to all of the different lawyers in this area, saying, all right, you're a criminal defense attorney. I want a lawyer. You're going to effectively represent me. Here, sign this client attorney agreement. And some of them are like, you have to sign our client attorney agreement. And I'm like, fine, I'll sign your client attorney agreement, but you need to sign my client attorney agreement so that I know that you're effectively representing me and not the court. And so none of them want to sign right now. So when I appear there before David Silverman, I'm going to be able to ask for a continuance, saying that I need more representation. I need to find someone who's going to do this. And at a certain point, I will probably have exhausted the entire list of lawyers in this area, and none of them are going to want to be able to represent me, because none of them are going to be willing to sign that client attorney agreement, because they'll be conflicting with their oath to the bar guild.
Right. So how does that work? I mean, would somebody from another county be more willing to do it because they're not in that county? I mean, what are they afraid of? How come you can't get somebody to represent you that's, in your area?
Because they won't sign my client attorney agreement. And that's the prerequisite for me securing them as my attorney, signing that client attorney agreement. And if they won't, then we're in a disagreement. And I'm not going to have an attorney who I am in disagreement with be my legal counsel and represent me in court. It's going to come down to sui juris anyway. I'm going to wind up having to represent myself. But once this paperwork takes hold, that documents removing me from the Disabilities with Minors Act, then the entire case should go away. And then at that time, I will also be cashing out my bond. So that's, those are big steps coming next. I mean, this, like you said, this has all been a chess match. And with my private legal counsel, they're helping me stay steps ahead in the chess match. I'm also getting a DNA test that proves I'm living. And they don't want, and if I can prove, when I prove on the record in court that I'm living, a living man, then I'm no longer under their jurisdiction. And that moves that from the statutory and codes side to the equity side, where the judge has to enter from the left side of the courtroom instead of the right side of the courtroom. In statutories and codes, they enter from, as you're facing the bench, he'll enter from the right side and then exit through the left side. Once I put this into effect with the removal of my status with the all capital name and disabilities of minors, he's going to have to come in from the equity side door. And now it's a handle. Now we're handling an court of equity and not a court of statutes and codes and crimes. So it's a different type of court. And I'm still working with my legal counsel to just go through the process. We're going to be doing some coaching probably tomorrow night just to go over how I need to handle my appearance if it happens on Tuesday or Thursday and the things I need to say. So,
Right.
and that left right doors is in that paperwork that I sent you. If you read through it, it's one. Most of the documents are about 1 page. There's a couple of 2 page documents. There's one 5 page document and there's one 9 page document. If you read those documents, even real quick, just with your finger under the words, you'll know what I'm talking about
Yeah, I know
because
what
it
you
does
mean.
get a
I
little
read them.
complicated.
I read every bit of those. And I was trying to create context when I was reading it, because if you don't have context and you're reading all that, it can be a little confusing. Um, but I got the gist of it. It's very, like I said, very interesting. And it's all this stuff, man. It's like it's still so over my head. As much as I've been looking into this since we've, started doing these podcasts, these talks, it's amazing how actually complicated it is. And the only reason why it's complicated is because we've been indoctrinated into the opposite of what you're actually doing, right? So it's like my brain wants to constantly go to what I learned my whole life about what law and order and judicial and all this stuff is, right? And then now there's this whole other picture involved now, right? So my greatest context to all this is other research that I've been doing. Like my main body of research has been in the medical side, like and etymology, understanding words and what they mean and where they come from, right? So medical and etymology. And that's when I really began to be.
Legal etymology is the same process.
It totally is. It totally is. The legality of things is, this is where people, I mean,
If you do etymology on formal English, you bring yourself up to the legal English world and you see, oh my gosh, this is what they're really saying.
yes, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And the thing is that when it comes to the legality of things, and it also goes right to the medical side of things too, because medical is legal, right? Those two things are intertwined. This is how they've got everybody so roped in, because right now medical is the biggest money maker in our entire world right now. It really is. Big pharma, the medical lie, the corruption of viruses and diseases and stuff is the biggest lie going. It's the boogeyman, right? It's like we have been, when I was a kid, I used to be afraid of the boogeyman, like, like in the closet or under my bed. Well, really, that was not a far off belief when I was a child, because really, I was intuitively right as a kid that we have been taught to believe that there's an invisible thing that's out to kill and harm us, when that's completely a lie and false. There is no invisible virus and fucking thing out there trying to kill people. It's actually uh it's actually a whole other force of global fucking people out there trying to keep us in a state of fear so that we don't actually become real human beings. So anyways, long story short, yes, understanding the etymology of words is probably one of the greatest things anybody can ever do, because it's going to get you to understand the meaning of everything. I mean, like, we're coming up to close to Christmas time here, and Christmas time, man, even Tracy, I mean, we used to celebrate Christmas and get all the decorations, and we used to do the whole Christmas thing, man. But once we started to understand really the etymology and how satanic Christmas actually is, aside from the Christianity aspect of it. And I understand the wholesome idea behind Christmas, I do. But really, when it comes to the Satan clause and the whole, chimney, and you really get into the etymology of what this actually is with Christmas, it's a very satanic holiday. And it comes back to Saturnalia with the Romans and celebrating slavery and a little bit of reprieve from slavery and then back into slavery again. I mean, this is what Christmas is. And
I know.
so we it's funny, we don't have it's kind of stinks with the kids because they're kind of like, well, how come we're not putting up decorations and stuff, Dad? It's like, well, we do a little bit, but at the same time, it's kind of like, we don't want to get steeped too much into we've understood too much to go, you know what, we have to celebrate this in a different kind of way, in our own way, um in a way that isn't subscribing to the
Satan.
yes, exactly, the satanic ideology that we've been force fed, man. So it's hard waking up to these realities, and especially when you go, oh my God, this has been going on for hundreds of years. My parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, great great grandparents have got suckered into just blindly being ignorant and then believing in authority, and the science and all this stuff for hundreds of years. And I really feel like, you know what, the time has come to an end, man. Like people really have to start questioning everything and not be afraid to, let some of these longstanding beliefs that we have, even when it comes to religion and medical, let them go and start asking lots of questions and digging into things just a little tiny bit. And once that door opens, many more begin to open, and you start to see these little bits of truth. And mostly what it tells you is that a lot of it it's a big lie with a little bit of truth sprinkled in that keeps us going. It just keeps us trailblazing along enough as a society collectively to kind of believe it. But that just shows us how ignorant we are as a collective. There's a lot of individuals that are really waking up, but what has to happen is, as a group of a family of humans, we have to begin to see this in our own individual way. We have to begin to wake up to the reality of this so that we can collectively create a harmonious, conscious change globally for humans, not for people that are trying to keep us suppressed. And this comes right back around to what you're doing. You're helping wake people up to the legality, the legal system, etymology. You're going through all of this personally, and it's so stressful. I can't even imagine,
It is.
going through what you're
I
going
don't know
through.
what's going to happen, man. I might get just slammed in the jail and
You
I don't
could,
know.
and you totally could, and you're putting your whole thing out in the line. Um, and so it's scary, man. It's a scary thing because that's how unfortunate of a situation us as human beings are in right now. Like we're free beings, man. We're not out here to hurt anybody. Ron, what did you do wrong? Are you creating violence to anybody? Are you there hurting anybody? No, you are actually helping people. You're umpiring baseball games and teaching freaking people how to do new things. You're managing a happy environment in a restaurant. Like you're really doing a lot of great things. But meanwhile, you are being told that you're a freaking menace to society, and you are the opposite. Look at all these other people out there that are doing the same thing. They're helping people. They're being a great contributors to society, but yet they don't want to listen to the rules that are suppressing them, and then they get thrown in jail. They get bastardized. They get demonized, and they get made fun of and shamed and guilted for no reason, right? Um, and this is what we're looking at, and this is what people have to wake up to is just look at that person. Are they moral or are they immoral? Are they there to coerce you and lie to you and take something from you? Or are they there to, help you and be a good human being? It's all you have to ask yourself. And then you're going to know whether that person is on the right path in life and whether you
Yeah.
can trust them or not. And it's that simple. That's how simple we are as human beings. But we've been corrupted and complicated so much that we don't even ask ourselves that question anymore. We don't even know what being really moral is or ethical really is. Like we've been so corrupted that we have to get back to that. Just ask ourselves those simple questions. Are we being moral and ethical? Is this person being moral and ethical? Do they mean harm or do they mean good? It's like, it's so simple, man. That's it, you know? And that's how we should get along. It's like we really have to almost go back to this agrarian roots. We have to go back to our tribal family, being, and just simply ask ourselves these simple questions. And then that's when the real answers come, you know? And that's, to me, that's changes consciousness throughout the world collectively for everybody. But I don't know. We're fighting these battles now, man. It's happening. It's happening. The more and more the suppression comes, the more and more these types of situations are coming into existence and people are fighting. So I'm excited for it. I am. I think that the Great Reset is no stopping it. There's no stopping what these people have planned. They're going through with it. And it's just going to be a matter of how we come out on the other side of it. All of us that are looking at it the way we look at it.
And we can mastermind our own outcome if we all can visualize the same outcome. In fact, I was just thinking during this interview, you should go ahead and publish this as soon as you want, maybe before I appear in court, because I want to take your audience through another visualization of just closing your eyes, seeing me being a free living man, removed from minorities, the Disabilities with Minorities Act, and then them having to recognize it and dismiss the whole thing, me cashing out my bond, teaching everyone how to do it, and freeing everyone from slavery. It's as simple as that. I get no jail time. I'm free without penalties, without probation. Just everything works out the way it needs to for everybody. And that's what I want your audience to close their eyes, see, feel, and then just send it out there and go, yes, that's what we have. Finally, we got justice and it's all over. And that's what I want.
Great. Very simple visualization. And that's simple as that. And it can happen just like that.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Yeah. Just
We
like
can
that.
move mountains with our minds.
We totally can. And the thing is, what's happening behind all that is all of the work you're putting into making it happen. And that's the important part is look what you're doing to make all of this happen right now. We're talking about months and months of freaking research and paperwork and notarizations and contacting lawyers and attorneys and getting them involved and making phone calls. I mean, it's a lot gone into all this.
Yeah.
And this is what it takes. It takes that simple thought to create this mountain of of flow of activity for justice to come into play here.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yes. So all right, man. Is there anything I guess it's getting a little bit late. We probably should close it up. And is there anything else that you'd like to
That was it.
talk
I
about?
will be in touch with you soon. I'll let you know next thing if whatever I hear next, if dates change or anything like that, results. I'm keeping you in the loop on all the important emails and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and thanks for sending me everything that you've been sending. Keep on sending me stuff as it comes through. I'm saving everything, so I get everything that you've ever sent me. It's all filed and saved. So that way, if I need to go back and look through it, or if I need to use it for at your discretion, I have it. So it can be brought to light if it needs to.
And
Uh,
feel free to send it to other people in our circle, our network, so that they have it for safekeeping, because I'd rather it be in the hands of 1,000 people than just 10 or 15 people.
right?
That
Absolutely.
way anyone can step forward and go, well, yeah, you deleted his email account, but you didn't delete my email account. You deleted their email accounts, but da da da. And then people are, now we see the truth and they can't stop it. Redundancy, redundant record keeping in this situation, I think is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that as this plays out a little bit more, I think that I mean, like right now, I think that there's sort of like this blackness, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I think that once this plays itself out, we're going to start seeing a real broad light here. And once you find yourself on the other end of it, and this is done with, we're dude, you're going to have so much information, and all of these talks that we've had so far are going to really start to actually make sense. They are, because right now we're talking and like we don't know what's going to happen, right? Like there's a lot of effort that you've put into this that we don't know what the outcome is going to be. But when the outcome plays itself out and it's done, and it's like now it's dust, the dust is settled, we're going to actually then have a really great body of work to go back and dissect, and that people I think are going to really be able to digest, myself included, and see how this process works, because it is complicated. It's funny how that is. The deprogramming and understanding this aspect is
I
very
know.
complicated, and it really clicks when it's over, when the dust is done and the outcome is, and the check mark has been put into place. Then we can see, okay, let's reverse engineer this and see how these series of events created the outcome. And then that is when the knowledge is going to come in. So we're documenting all of this now. We've been documenting this now for months. You've been talking a lot about it. We're reaching to the climax, and then we're going to see what happens on the other end of this climax. And what we're trying to do now is, manifest the most positive outcome we can for you, on the other end of this, because we know that what the justice aspect of this is, the nervous part is justice going to actually be served properly, right? And this is what I think the nerve-wracking aspect is here. So you got some great people on your side. I know one of the lawyers on your side right now. She's top notch. So I know that, you got some great people on your side. So I'm putting it out there for you, man. We've been, my dad too, like we put some great energy out there for you. And we know that I've even talked to other people and told them about your story. And they're just like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous. He's totally gonna freaking smash this, because he's in the wrong. Those people are in the wrong. They had no right doing what they did, and now it's just they're covering. Like, everyone that I've talked to can see it for what it is. Now it's like going through this complicated process to bring that to light. So
But it was necessary. This process was necessary. This had to happen.
yeah,
And
I know. It's
even
like,
though it's stressful, it caused action to take place. It caused me to figure some things out that needed to be figured out. So,
yeah, 'cause it's one of those sucky things, right? It's like it took the car accident, and the near death to like understand that you needed to actually do this in life rather than that, right? It's like
yeah.
it's such a weird thing. It's just like how how things work like that. And I have a recent story that I'm not going to share, but same thing here. It's like, I'm trying to like make changes in life, and like, and then this big thing happens, and then it forces you into it in a way that you never expected it, and you have to do it, right? So you have to get out of your own way,
Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
things that are uncomfortable and you just don't want to do,
Yep.
in order to get to a better place.
Yeah.
Because that's how
Exactly.
that's how deprogramming works, real quick. And that's a great point too, is because it's not as simple as just going, hey, you need to deprogram yourself from the shit you've been learned, and, like, and start a new life. It's like, no, when you really deprogram yourself, it's like you have to really freaking put yourself in the most almost worst situation you can think of in some degree, so that you can really climb out of that pit the way that you need to. It's a rite of passage. The
It's like in the
deprogramming.
movie Six Underground with Ryan Reynolds. No, Deadpool. Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds, where he actually has to go through incredible stress to turn into a superhuman. I don't know if you ever saw that movie,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, yeah.
he gets cancer and he needs to find a cure, and he goes to this unethical, crazy doctor who's like, okay, well, everyone has a superhuman human gene in them. The only way to turn it on though is to go through extreme stress that you can't take. And finally they put him into an oxygen chamber where they've got him on the brink of death, where he's going to suffocate and die. And finally he reaches such a breaking point of stress that his superhuman gene turns on and he becomes Deadpool. And it's kind of like that same process.
It,
It's
oh,
like
it, it totally is.
sometimes Hollywood will show us a truth in plain sight that we just don't understand. They might know it, but we don't understand it. But now that we're talking about it, that's kind of what I get from that.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. It's like real quick, like what I did was, a year ago I signed up to run a marathon, and a full marathon, the Space Coast Marathon up in your neck of the woods. And I didn't know why I did it a year ago. I ran two other marathons, And I did it in my 20s and 30s. And I'm like, well, I'm in my 40s now. I'm like, well, it seems like I'm going to do it. I'm getting out of shape. COVID kind of got me out of shape, it's like, it like, doesn't matter what you believe. It's like, it really affects everybody, right? This whole thing. And so I'm like, I'm going to do something to really be healthy. But when it came down to it, all the training and coming up to the day and the recovery and the getting sick afterwards, I mean, it was a life-changing experience that I never would have imagined, but my higher self knew that I had to shock myself into making a change because I got so into the habit of drinking wine every night and doing the same old thing every single day and getting in the same mindset that I couldn't shake myself out of it. And Tracy was even telling me, you're being so negative. You're just talking about the negative of the world and how the global elite are taking over and it's all big doomsday and it's pessimistic. And I'm like, I wasn't trying to be that way. Like, I'm trying to be positive, empowering. But what happened was I allowed myself to get stuck into that narrative, but I gave myself a gift a year in advance, which was you were going to take yourself to the freaking brink of like almost not being able to do it. And on the other end of it, in the recovery side, you're going to find yourself not wanting to have anything to drink. You're going to find yourself wanting to be healthy. You're going to find yourself wanting to be like really looking at life with a whole new light. And that's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not drinking wine. I'm drinking a lot of water. I'm detoxing. I'm eating better. I'm feeling like, okay, now I'm seeing things through a whole nother lens. And that's, I think, the point I'm trying to make here, sometimes what it takes is we have to go through these sort of moments of suffering in order to see um, uh, sort of that golden egg on the other side of it. Because the routine and getting sucked into these habits is almost it's detrimental to us. We have to put ourselves inside of the chaos. We have to put ourselves through it, and then on the other end of it is a whole learning lesson. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know if I explained that good enough, but
you did. It's
you know,
true. It
it,
was
it
well
seems to be
done.
the human way. It seems to be the human way. Because what I noticed is that in this life, we've been so pampered. It's so easy to just get into these habits that are so easy. Let's go to the movies. Let's go out to dinner. Let's have some drinks tonight. Let's go do this. Like it's so easy to do these things like that. And where in our history of coming into real humanity have we ever been able to afford the ability to just relax all the time and just freaking go to movies? Most of human existence has been like, like surviving cold weather, wearing bear skins, hunting, like killing bison and trying to keep warm and keep our family safe and protecting the tribe. Like this is mostly what we are genetically, right? So we're like, well, all of a sudden we're just like pampered freaking people. It's like, no, it's not even in our genes. So it doesn't, but that's why we have to go through all this. We have to really make sure we don't forget where we come from. I think,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? We have to
yeah,
put ourselves through this. We're survivors. And then we're not just survivors, but we're thrivers. You know what I mean? Like there's a portion of us that have to survive, but then through the surviving, we find that we can thrive in the environment when we really learn and educate ourselves to what our environment really is. And this to me is what we're doing right now is showing this is the environment we live in. There's wolves all around. They're taking they're collapsing everything around us, the economy, the freaking everything that we know we've built. And now that we're deprogramming, we're going, wow, we're in the wilderness, we're fighting for it, we know what's going on, and we're prepared to fight the good fight. We're not going to be lazy people.
yeah, that's
Anyway,
true. No, that's good. That's a good way to end it right there. It's true. It's hopeful. It gives us hope because that's where we're headed.
we are, yeah. We need to be fighters. We need to be warriors, I think, in our own right and not be afraid to be who we are. We've spent too much time being concerned about what people think about us. Well, am I going to say the right thing? I don't want to offend anybody. It's like, no, man, just be who you are, say what you feel, say what you really be yourself, self-empower your, really step into your authority of who you are as a human being, and the world will start to change, and your higher self is going to put you in positions to make sure that you live up to that standard, as
Yeah.
difficult as those things may be. And that's what's
Yeah.
happening with you. Your
Yeah.
higher self is putting you in these situations so that you are breaking away those layers of the onion to come to this true empowered human being, and then so that you can help empower other people is exactly what you're doing. You've already started this process years ago, and now it's just continuing to unfold and manifest in your life.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. It's different now than it was 2 years ago. I know more. I'm picking up more information along the way and better getting into a better position.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
and then that way, everybody, it's a short, then everyone can just jump right into that position. They don't have to go through what I went through or what I've gone through and what I'm going through,
Right. That's the objective here. Yeah.
saving everyone a lot of pain.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we got 3 minutes left, so I guess we can wrap it up here. It's been great to talk to you. Thanks for your time, man. It's great to see you. And keep in touch. We'll be in touch leading up to Tuesday. I'll be texting you just to kind of see what's going on, and then afterwards we can schedule another Zoom, and then we can talk a little bit more
All right.
about
I'll
this
probably
stuff.
give you my sister's phone number also.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yep.
All right.
That way we can stay in touch
Thanks,
just in case
Logan.
anything happens. All right,
This was
man. Well, I'll
good.
be in
We need
touch,
to
man.
do it. Yep. All right. We'll see what happens.
All
We'll
right, man.
talk.
I'm gonna hit stop record. Just hang on the line for a little bit longer. I'm just gonna hit stop record. If I can find the stop record button. There it goes.